So, hello everybody. Good morning. I hope you guys are having a awesome start to your day. If this happens to be your afternoon or a good afternoon, I hope you have had a productive day. You are tuning in with Takela, Swain, and we are here on Life Enchanted. First, I want to start out with a great thank you to all of you guys who participated in the prayer segment that we did on the 30th, I believe, of May. It was so super awesome. We had so many people to tune in with that Facebook Live. And so, for all of you that actually participated or were able to go back and do a review of it, thank you so much. And we're grateful that we were able to do that segment of prayer with those wonderful women that joined me on that particular panel. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go to Facebook and type in When Women Pray. You'll see my friend Shindy up there smiling, pointing up there towards her title topic concept, and you'll be able to see the replay of that particular event. So there will be other events that are being hosted throughout the year from her page. I may be a part of those. I may not. I don't really know. It just really depends, but it is a great ministry, so you do want to be a part of that. Also, I know this is like my first video in probably 3 or 4 weeks. And so it's a lot to catch up on. So I may do two-part segments and things like that. I'm uncertain. But I want to talk about, of course, what everybody else is talking about is the state that we are currently in right now in the world at large as it relates to the aspects of the brutality that we've been experiencing in our country from forms of law enforcement, and how all of that has trickled down to the overall root cause of racism and components that we've been talking about for centuries, it seems. But now it's at the forefront of so many people's minds. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that today. It took me a moment to actually get ready to speak on this topic because there's so much that can be spoken of during this time. And as I have talked to so many different people and listened to their hearts, I think the main thing is just trying to find a way to get true justice, not only for the killing of George Floyd, but for all of the other components that has happened along the way that still has not been properly solved, if you will, as it relates to improper authority being used, or too much force being used, if you will, in certain arrests and things of that nature. And it just goes on and on and on and on. But one of the things that sort of came out from that is that a lot of people are actually now finding their voice. And I think that is super important. For years, many people have felt muted and not able to fully express their overall feelings and thoughts on certain concepts because they didn't want to start like forms of separation amongst those that they call friends or maybe connected to, or they just didn't have a way of having a positive outlet. And so the protesters that we now see in the streets are giving people power again. Now, for those who are out there looting and all that, then that's a whole nother can of worms. And those individuals truly are not a part of the cause. They are a part of the problem. And so that too needs to be addressed at a later time. I think the most pertinent thing that we are focusing on now is finding out how can we move on from here. I was talking to I have two wonderful sisters. I was talking to my older sister earlier on, in probably like 2 weeks ago, a week or so. And we were talking about the concept of the protest. And she was like, how do you feel about that? Do you think that we should be a part of that? And I was sharing with her that I had a chance to read an article by Condoleezza, which was like so profound and great. But it was some other things that led to that as well. And I told her, I said, I feel like that we all protest in different manners. That we may, some people, it is for them to be in the streets. It's for them to pave the way in that manner. But for others, it could be that you're the ones in the courtroom making changes to the laws that are improper. Or you may be the one who's going to the town hall meetings and making sure they know the areas of concerns that are in your community. There's so many facets of this particular movement that everybody can put their hands to the plow, if you will. Everyone has their particular place, and I feel like that my place may be in a different arena than marching in the streets for this particular cause at the moment. And so I happened to come back up here to Charlotte, and I had a chance to talk to my youngest sister, and so we were talking about similar things as well. And so one of the things that we are working on is developing a letter to send to our governors and send to the senators and all those things like that, that speaks of possible solutions that can happen beyond the protest, because the protest, to be honest, can only go so far. It is making people alert, it's making people aware, it's making people conscious. But now that we are awake and alert and conscious, what are we going to do to make sure that this is not a continuation? So we have some things drafted, and we're going to issue it out to our senators and all that, as we talked about. But we're also going to open it up to other people who may want to sign petitions to support that, and or who wants to send those letters to their senators, to their mayors and things like that, to let them know that yes, we are so glad that you are now at the table to listen. Here's some possible solutions or ideals that you guys can maybe jockey around in those meetings that we may not be privy to, that speaks to the heart of what is going on at that time. So we will definitely be giving more information about that, so that if you want to be a part of that, that you can do that as well. And so one of the other things, though, that came from the conversation with my sister was talking about the significance of people's stories, that at this moment, that now people have stories that they're actually being able to tell, that they may have harbored for years, that they were not able to talk to anyone about, but things that happened to them that was a form of injustice. I, as a whole, in our family, we grew up not knowing aspects of color. My mother never made that an issue for us. She always taught us that we are all people. We are to love each other as God tells us to love each other, and to flow and function in that manner. If there were any injustices that happened, and there were many, that she just put it in the concept that that is the behavior of a person or a set mindset, and not necessarily attaching that to a set people. And I think that a lot of individuals didn't have that. They didn't have someone that gave them the concept of this behavior is not only systemic, but it is something that has stemmed from a set of people, and or mindset, if you will, and not a set of people. And so it made me begin to think of different stories and things like that. And one of the ones that came up for me was when I was in, I want to say maybe second grade. I think I've experienced some other form of racism prior to that, and that was actually from my own race itself. But I think my first time of actually experiencing outside of my race was that of first or second grade. We had moved to a new town, and we went to a school that was predominantly white. I think myself, my older sister, and one other guy, I think his name was Mackenzie, I want to say. We were the only black children in the whole school, which was interesting. Now, we didn't see color. So I didn't see color. So I just knew, like, wow, there's a whole lot of new kids here. So I got to meet new people and make friends, And so it never was the issue. I heard some people murmur or say certain things like, oh, she's black or something. But I'm just like, who's black? Like, what's the issue, huh? But I just, being kids. And I remember this one particular day. We were riding home on the bus, and this one particular girl wanted something. She wanted the seat that I was in or something like that, or for me to slide in. I was like, oh no, I'm going to sit here or whatever. And she became like so upset, and she was like, I don't play with ends, I hang them. And of course, you know what ends are, and I don't use that word. So, but when I heard it, I was just like, huh? What's the end? But my older sister heard it, and she leaped on the girl. I mean, she was just like, she was like Superwoman flying across the seat, and she attacked the girl. And I'm just like, no, don't hit her. She's my friend. And my sister's like, she's not your friend, because your friend wouldn't have called you that. She wouldn't have said that, and she wouldn't X, Y, and Z. And I still didn't get it. And so when we got home, my sister communicated it with my mom, and my mom, I remember her taking it all in. And anybody know my mom that, she's like real loving and caring. But when she was younger, she had fire, and she still have fire now, but it's like a controlled fire, if you will, which is very unique within itself. But she listened to the concerns of my sister, and she spoke to the area of need that was there. And I remember her talking to me. And when she spoke of it, she never made it a black and white issue. She just talked about the behavior that was there, how some people have different beliefs, but we have to rise above those beliefs and go from there. So I just took it as that and was just like, okay, and just went on. But as I continued to remember the story, I remembered when my mom went and came to the school. And after she came to the school, she talked to the little girl's mother, and she talked with the little girl or whatever. And the girl was like so remorseful, and she apologized. I think we even hugged or something like that. And the lady informed us that that was not her belief, but it was her husband's. And that's how he was raised, and that's what they believed, and so on and so forth. And she was so sorry that her daughter had even spoke those words to me. But even still, my mom never tried to tell me like you treat this person this way because they believe this way. It was just like, their mindset is not proper. You still take the high road and keep going. So I was privy to having a mom that actually made sure that I saw the world as Christ would see it, as like, these are all my brothers and sisters and loving. But I never saw it as a black and white issue. But that's not the case for many people. Some people, that is all that they saw, and that's all they've been told. And so certain privileges and rights were told that they were supposed to have and they're supposed to function in. And then they trickle down that to generation to generation to generation. And then others may have been taught that they're going to have this mindset of you, so you respond and behave in this manner. And so on each side you have skewed information being delivered, and then you have generations coming up with these biases. And so it was just so interesting to sort of think back on that story. And I have so many more that didn't necessarily turn out that beautiful. But I think the one thing that, as my sister shared, is that it's getting conversations to be started, and it's allowing people to hear. There's one that my older sister told me about, a particular judge that had something to happen to him when he went to a particular town, and how that affected him so much that he didn't go back to that town for almost 20 some years because of all that he felt every time he went there. Those type things should not occur and should not happen, but they do. And so I think that if anything that this time has taught us is that it's okay to tell your story, and that your story has significance and your voice is valuable to be able to educate not only those who are on the same level that you are, but others that may be in a different arena or just coming after you, so they can properly prepare themselves in a way that can still be loving, can still be caring, can still be concerned, but not controlled by the elements that you can be exposed to. So I'm going to end this particular talk here, because we're at 12 minutes, and I definitely didn't want to go that long, but I wanted to sort of share some of those components. I'll probably come back maybe later on this week, maybe next week, to talk about a part 2 potentially, and to share more about what we're doing as it relates to the letter to the senators, the mayors, and all those things like that, to talk about some potential options that we can have moving forward. So I thank you again for tuning in with Life Enchanted, and I hope you guys have a super awesome day. Bye for now.